It is the loneliest walk in sports. 60 yards of green grass that feel like a mile under the weight of 40,000 screaming voices and the silent judgment of millions more at home. In the world of elite football, these players are conditioned machines. Athletes who can find the top corner from 30 yards out with their eyes closed during training. But at the penalty spot, in the final moments of a major final, the physics of the ball stay the same, while the chemistry of the brain completely unravels. Welcome to the science of the freeze. We've all seen it, the sudden hesitation, the vacant stare, the uncharacteristic blast over the crossbar. But why does a player worth $100 million suddenly look like they've forgotten how to kick a ball? Today, we are mapping the invisible battle between the pulse and the prize. From the physiological spikes in heart rate to the neurological phenomenon known as choking, we are diving into the data behind the spot. This isn't just about luck or nerves of steel. This is a tactical breakdown of human fragility under the most intense pressure ever created in sport. You are watching Goalline Stories, and this is the anatomy of the penalty shootout. To understand the freeze, we have to look at what's happening beneath the jersey. The moment a referee points to the spot, the human body enters a state of hyperarousal. Data from sports science monitors shows that a player's heart rate can spike from a steady 120 beats per minute during active play to a staggering 180 or even 190 beats per minute while they are simply standing still, waiting to kick. This isn't just a fast pulse, it's a biological red line. When the heart hits this threshold, the brain begins to prioritize survival over skill. Adrenaline floods the system, which is great for a 100-meter dash, but catastrophic for the fine motor skills required to place a ball into a 3-inch window in the corner of the net. This is where the yips come from. It's a neurological short circuit where the explicit monitoring part of the brain, the part we use to learn new things, takes over from the automatic part of the brain that the pro has used for 20 years. Essentially, the player is suddenly thinking about their foot placement like a beginner, rather than letting a lifetime of muscle memory do the work. The more they focus on the how, the more likely the what is to go wrong. It's a paradox of effort. The harder you try to control the movement, the more you lose it. If there is one image that defines the psychological freeze, it is Roberto Baggio in 1994. The divine ponytail was the undisputed star of the tournament, the man who had dragged Italy to the final through sheer individual brilliance. But as he stood over the ball in the heat of the Rose Bowl, he wasn't just kicking a sphere of leather, he was carrying the hopes of 20 million Italians. When the ball soared over the bar, Baggio stood motionless for nearly a minute. That is the physical manifestation of a mental collapse. Research into status-induced pressure suggests that star players, the ones with the highest market values and the most social capital, actually face a higher risk of freezing than their teammates. To the brain, the cost of failure isn't just a missed trophy, it's a threat to their identity and status. This is exactly what we saw with John Terry in Moscow in 2008. The Chelsea captain, a man known for his unshakable mental toughness, fell victim to a microsecond of mechanical failure. When we map these moments, we see that the brain's error detection system becomes hyperactive. Instead of a fluid, rhythmic motion, the body becomes rigid. In Terry's case, a slight slip on a rain-soaked pitch turned a moment of glory into a lifetime of what-ifs. These aren't just mistakes. They are the moments where the sheer magnitude of the financial and historical stakes becomes too heavy for the human nervous system to process. While the shooter is fighting their own biology, there is another variable in the equation designed specifically to trigger a collapse: the goalkeeper. Modern goalkeeping has evolved far beyond reactive shot stopping. It has become a masterclass in psychological disruption. We call it the predator's advantage. When a goalkeeper like Emi Martinez or Tim Krul engages in antics on the line, whether it's moving the ball, delaying the whistle, or trash-talking the kicker, they are intentionally extending the wait time. Data suggests that every second of delay increases the likelihood of a miss. In a standard penalty, the time between the ball being placed and the kick is usually about 20 seconds. If a goalkeeper can stretch that to 40 or 60 seconds, the shooter's prefrontal cortex begins to overanalyze. The automatic muscle memory we discussed earlier starts to fade, replaced by a frantic internal monologue. The keeper isn't just trying to save the ball, they are trying to force the shooter into a decisional paralysis. By pointing to a corner or dancing on the line, they force the kicker to question their original plan. Once a player changes their mind mid-run-up, the failure rate triples. You aren't just watching a test of skill. You're watching a predator baiting its prey into a mental trap, waiting for that one micro-expression of doubt that signals the freeze has set in. If the freeze is a biological short circuit, then the aftermath is a long-term psychological scar. Nowhere is this more evident than in the story of England's Euro 2020 final. When Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho and Bukayo Saka stepped up under the lights of Wembley, they weren't just playing for a trophy. They were attempting to end 55 years of national heartbreak. In this scenario, the freeze stops being about a game and starts being about a legacy. When Rashford hit the post after a stuttered run-up, we saw a tactical manifestation of doubt. When Saka, just 19 years old, saw his shot saved, the world witnessed the crushing reality of what we call social evaluation threat. This is a specific type of pressure where a person believes their entire worth is being judged by millions in a single second. For a young player, the brain's amygdala, the center for processing fear, can actually shut down the motor cortex. The fallout of these moments isn't just a lost game, it's a period of national trauma that follows the players home. Mapping the recovery of these athletes is as fascinating as the misses themselves. It takes months, sometimes years, to reprogram the brain to stop associating the penalty spot with a state of panic. To return to that same spot and score again, as Saka eventually did for both club and country, is a feat of neurological rebuilding that is rarely given enough credit in our tactical analysis. But if the freeze is inevitable for some, how do the others remain ice cold? Players like Robert Lewandowski, Harry Kane, and Cristiano Ronaldo don't just have better technique, they have better rituals. They utilize what psychologists call pre-performance routines to anchor their brains. By focusing on a specific sequence, the deep breath, the exact number of steps backward, the fixation on the valve of the ball, they starve the brain of the noise that causes a choke. They aren't trying to ignore the pressure, they are giving their mind a job to do that is so specific, there is no room left for fear. Data shows that players who take more than 2 seconds to breathe after the referee's whistle have a significantly higher success rate than those who rush. Rushing is a fight-or-flight response. It's a desire to get the pain over with. The masters of the spot, however, slow time down. They reclaim control of the environment, forcing the goalkeeper to wait on their terms. It is a psychological counterattack. They turn the loneliest walk in sports into a controlled laboratory experiment, where the result is determined long before the foot ever makes contact with the ball. At the end of the day, a penalty shootout isn't just a tiebreaker, it is a psychological mirror. It reflects the years of sacrifice, the weight of the jersey, and the fragile line between becoming a legend or a cautionary tale. We watch because we recognize that feeling, the moment where everything we've worked for comes down to a single, high-pressure choice. Whether it's Baggio's silent stare in the California heat or the clinical precision of a modern master, these 12 yards tell the most human story in all of sports. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden mechanics of the beautiful game, don't let the journey end here. At Goalline Stories, we are dedicated to mapping the tactics, the tragedies, and the triumphs that define football history. Every subscribe, like, and comment helps us continue building this library of documentaries for fans who want more than just the highlights. We want to hear from you. Who is the one player you would trust with your life to take a 90-minute penalty? Drop your name in the comments, and let's settle the debate. Until next time, keep watching, keep analyzing, and keep loving the game. This has been a Goalline Stories production. We'll see you in the next map.